In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Well, we've been waiting for a little bit of chaos here in this college football landscape. 3 straight weeks, it seems like. The AP poll was all the same, and the two college football playoff committee polls were all the same. Alabama holding on to that fourth spot for the second year in a row, though. Oklahoma shaking things up a little bit, going to Tuscaloosa and picking up a 23-21 win over Alabama. What this means for Alabama's playoff hopes and what it means for Oklahoma's playoff hopes, that and so much more to dive into today here on Southeast Sports Plus. Welcome in. I'm Gerhard Mathangani, joined by Patrick Walsh. And Patrick, this was such a weird and interesting game. Alabama falls early to this Oklahoma football team, but then they rally, they take the lead, but Oklahoma comes up and makes the plays there at the end. The turnovers were the huge story here in this football game for this team, but 2 times in a row now, the Sooners, part of the SEC, and get a win over Bama.
Yeah, and honestly now that makes the Iron Bowl at the end of the year a lot more interesting, especially with this loss. But as you mentioned, those 3 turnovers really seemed to change the course of the game, as well as the missed field goal to end the first half for Alabama. It's got to be frustrating for Kalen DeBoer and crew, because this was such a winnable game for them.
Absolutely.
Had they just taken care of the ball a little bit better, and I know there was a high snap on the field goal. Mm-hmm. There was some arguing going on between Connor Talty and the long snapper. Yeah. But I mean, the snap is high. You still got to stay focused and make the kick as well. So it's just a little bit uncharacteristic of what we've seen out of Alabama here recently. But the thing that I'm starting to figure out is it's just under Kalen DeBoer, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and you could go back to last year too, it just feels like there's no run game, at all.
Yes.
And I know we talked about with Holden Kruismark last week, hey, don't try to run on Oklahoma because it's just not going to work out well. But this isn't just an Oklahoma thing. This has been an all-season thing.
Yes.
And there's a guy up in Michigan who just had a really nice game on Saturday that you could have probably used because I know Jam Miller came into the year, everyone thought he was going to be the lead back, hasn't really been able to recover from his injury to start the year.
Right.
And it's plagued them all year because it puts all the pressure on Ty Simpson, which in this game, Simpson looked arguably the worst he's looked since the season opener.
And if you look at the game log, it was his worst QBR since the Florida State game.
I mean, it was just a little bit shocking, and that's another thing that I've noticed under Kalen DeBoer. I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer is a bad coach at all. I mean, they just rattled off, I believe, it was 8 straight wins, and they were looking for their 9th. So, I mean, bad teams don't just do that, especially against teams in the SEC. It's just the inconsistency. You could go back to last year as well with Jalen Milroe. And the inconsistency there was immense. I mean, one week he looked like an NFL quarterback. The next he looked like a Division III quarterback.
Right.
It just feels like in some of these games, and we had been talking about it. I think I had said something after the South Carolina game. I was like, man, this offense really didn't look good. Are we chalking it up to, hey, this is on the back end of such a long stretch, or is there a deeper problem here? I think there might be a deeper problem here because it wasn't just South Carolina. It was last game as well against LSU.
Yep.
And then it was this game against Oklahoma.
Yep, it felt like it was surging to. It felt like the South Carolina game. You could just write it off as, hey, they just played this crazy stretch, 4 straight ranked opponents, and then just looking to get to the bye, limping into the bye, and then after the bye, then you have another kind of lackluster performance on offense against LSU, and then after that, one of the best defenses in the entire country comes to town. You would think that you'd be on your P's and Q's, so to speak. And they just weren't. You mentioned the running game, and I think it's super important to discuss because Alabama ran for 80 yards. And in typical key Alabama football programs, they lean on the run. They lean on the run game and in the defense. Now, I understand football in 2025 is not the way it was built maybe 20 years ago. You do need to have the ability to pass, but you can't be solely dependent on the pass. And the guys that do the SEC football final on the SEC network, they did a great job of it. They broke down, it wasn't the TV copy, it was the behind the camera, it was the skybox cam or the sky camera, where you could see behind the offensive line. And it wasn't just the running of the football that was plaguing this team. It was pass protection for these running backs. They just Brent Venables would just bring an extra corner or bring a safety or bring a linebacker, and they would just play one-on-one with that running back. And whether it was Jam Miller or it was Daniel Hill, they just could not consistently block those guys and putting duress for Ty Simpson.
And that's another theme I've started to realize under Kalen DeBoer. The offensive line has all the talent in the world, and for some reason they just continue to underperform in these big games.
Right.
You could make the argument now, looking back at that tough stretch that Alabama went on. Close game to Mizzou. Mizzou kind of fell off here a little bit.
Yep.
Close game to South Carolina. South Carolina is at the second to last in the SEC, only in front of Arkansas. Their only win is against Kentucky, and it's just it's starting to get a little bit interesting to me because the two losses. Obviously, the first one was really bad, like really, really bad at this point. This one's a little bit shocking, and honestly, I think the team that wanted it more won.
Yes.
I mean, Oklahoma didn't wow you on offense.
No,
but they wanted it more.
Right. And I was blown away by the play of let me get his name. Number 44 was he was a monster, an absolute monster for Oklahoma. He was actually in because our Mason Thomas was out of the football game, so he got more snaps in the football game. Let me make sure I got his name right. His last name is Wine. His first name is Taylor. Taylor Wine was unbelievable. He got his hand on the football on the blocked field goal. He had the big sack, the sack fumble that led to that last touchdown there for Alabama. I mean, for Oklahoma. So this is an all-around effort, in my opinion, from this Oklahoma football team. And that guy right there, John Mateer, looked to be back to form from what we saw pre-injury. In my opinion, this to me looked like the most that we have seen him since we were talking Heisman Trophy at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, but even with that, I mean, he still didn't wow you, really.
No,
I mean,
no.
he had the 20-yard rushing touchdown, but outside of that, I mean,
and that's what
Alabama swarmed.
Yes.
This was a defensive game by far.
Right.
But at the same time, Alabama had every chance to win this game. And you can pinpoint it on the missed field goal because they lost by 2 points.
Right.
But at the same time, you cannot – the interception was bad by Ty Simpson.
Right.
I mean, there was no one even near him.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the fumble. He honestly could have had 2 interceptions, though, but the other one was called back.
Right.
It was just a little bit surprising to me because Ty Simpson these last 2 weeks had a real good opportunity to take a stranglehold on the Heisman race, and now it almost at this point, I think he's out of it.
Yeah, me too. And if you look at the latest odds, I don't know what he was at the end of last week, but I looked today, and it's depending on what book you look at, it's anywhere between 100 and 150 to 1. Yeah. And he was one of the favorites going in. Now I think he's maybe 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in there, going into this week. So it is to me is a very, very interesting spot here for Alabama because now, like you said, once you start to break down those wins that were in that winning streak, you're outside of the Georgia game, which I'll take nothing away from Alabama.
I mean, that's probably the best win.
That for sure. That's the best win going on the road to Georgia and winning there. Vanderbilt in the Vandy game, Vandy fumbled the ball twice in the red zone. And then in the Missouri game, you mentioned Missouri, Tennessee's kind of fallen off. South Carolina, we know what they are. LSU fired their coach before the game, so it's an interesting situation here for Alabama, and slowly they're putting more in the hands of the college football committee than their own hands. I would say the season ended today; they're still in the playoff.
Yes,
but there's still a lot more football to be played, including the Iron Bowl late in the season. You got a chance to hear from Bama head coach Kalen DeBoer after the game.
Oh well, I think we had almost 275 yards in the first half. What's disappointing is the turnovers because, even the interception, we were working in deep into their territory, the interception for a touchdown, and then we just gave them the ball in our own territory a couple times there. So I felt like, it wasn't perfect, but we were facing a very good defense and we understood that. And, I felt like we were executing better today than we have probably the previous couple weeks against a very good defense. And so, just the big mistakes are the ones that hurt us.
So he talks about the kicking woes and the turnovers, but you probably have to give a lot of credit to the guys on the other sideline. Oklahoma, it looked to me, and I think it looked to a lot of people, that when John Mateer went down, the offense, even before the offense wasn't blowing you away, he was just a good leader. And Ben Arbuckle and company, they were really solid going in. It felt like after the hand surgery, it was like, okay, you could almost write this team off. Like, you're just waiting for them to lose that second and third game in order to get themselves out of the hunt. And now they find themselves right back in the hunt.
I think, honestly, after the Texas game, I was like, all right, that's it. Oklahoma, you had a nice run. I think John Mateer, you rushed yourself back. You didn't look right. I mean, he looked great for a drive and a half, and then after that, it was like, what is going on with John Mateer right now, throwing 3 interceptions? The numbers aren't going to pop at you right now, but it's the dual threat of Mateer that's really going to keep them in this game. And as I mentioned, I think they only had 230 total yards in the game. So the Alabama defense did their job. It's just Oklahoma did just enough to win the game. And now you could easily make the argument that they're the best 2-loss team in the country based on the schedule that they played. I think they have a relatively easy finish to the year. I think they have Arkansas and LSU to end the year. So I think they're in at this point.
I think so too. And if you're looking at the other 2-loss teams, because I was going to pull it up because obviously Alabama was going to be in that mix, but they have the head-to-head over Alabama. But of the 2-loss teams right now, we'll look at the AP poll, and of course we'll dive more into it later on in this hour. But you have Oklahoma, Notre Dame, of course Alabama. You have Vandy, Utah, Miami, Southern California, and Michigan and Virginia. That takes us to basically the top 20. And then you have others like Tulane, Houston, some of the Tulane being a G5. But of the Power 4, I'm right there with you. I don't see a better 2-loss football team than Oklahoma. And the way they're playing here as of late, to me, is really surprising in a lot of ways. Going to Tennessee and getting a big win over the Vols, going to Tuscaloosa and getting a big win there over Alabama, and the way they're doing it, because like you said, they're not really blowing you away offensively. Their defense is really doing the work. And even the Ole Miss game, the game that they lost,
that's not a bad loss.
It wasn't a bad loss, and they played well in that football game. 34-26 was the final there. So, I mean, if I'm the committee, it's going to be hard trying to parse these teams together. I don't know what we see tomorrow when the committee polls come out, but I'm really interested to see the gap between where Alabama is where Oklahoma is, because they both have 2 losses, and obviously they're head-to-head.
Well, I think you have to put Oklahoma at 9 and Alabama at 10.
Oklahoma 9-10? Okay, so that's where so there would not be...
Alabama's not going to drop out because of this loss. They're still a great 2-loss team.
Right.
Now, they can't afford another loss because then they're done.
Right.
If you lose to... Well, if you lose to Eastern Illinois, you definitely don't deserve to be in,
right.
And especially if you lose to Auburn as well, you're not getting in at that point.
Right. Do you which do you as a connoisseur of college football and you that is the observer of what the polls and what the committee will do you think Alabama will be ranked ahead of Notre Dame going into tomorrow's college football playoff committee? Because both have 2 losses. Obviously, right now, Notre Dame riding a 9-game winning streak after losing those 2 games to start the season.
I think so, only because of what Notre Dame did to Pitt over the weekend.
Yeah.
I know we talked last week about Pat Narduzzi's comments about losing by I'd want to lose 110 and win the next 2 games. Well, you lost by, I think it was like 28 or something like that. Or no, the late touchdown made it like a 15-point game.
Right.
But still covered. My bet was fine at that point. We'll get to that later. But Pitt came in. They were playing pretty good. I mean, Notre Dame, you look at the schedule, USC, Pitt. Those are the 2 best wins right now.
Right.
And I think A&M continuing to win is huge for Notre Dame because you could say that's a quality loss. I mean, it was I think it was a 3-point.
44 or 41.
I think that's what it was. The one that's going to maybe hurt you is the Miami one. But, I mean, even then, it's still not bad.
Right now. No. Yeah.
I think the committee's going to punish Alabama a little bit more than you would expect. I think it's Notre Dame at 8. Oklahoma at 9, Alabama at 10.
Okay, so you're saying that you think the committee will boost Notre Dame because of that win over Pitt.
Yes,
and then also get a boost for Oklahoma.
I think Texas Tech moves up to 5.
Okay,
Georgia obviously
see
moves
that.
into the top 4.
Yeah.
Ole Miss moves up to 6.
Right.
And then you look at 7, 8, 9, 10. I just said 8, 9, 10.
Right.
I mean, you could make an argument
Oregon,
for Oregon probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have let's see. In this week's, like, I'm just going based on the
Right.
AP poll right now. You have Oregon and Ole Miss kind of sandwiched in there.
Yeah.
And
it seems like Ole Miss is going to move up before Oregon.
Yes. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Again, we just talked about teams beating other teams and wanting those teams to win. If Oklahoma keeps on winning, that's a great win for Ole Miss because coming into this, everyone was like, well, why is Ole Miss ranked so high? They haven't really played anybody. Well, they beat Oklahoma in Norman.
Yep.
And Oklahoma just beat Alabama. So what does that tell you about the Rebels?
Exactly.
I know they won a close one here this weekend, but a win is a win. They have one game left.
Yep.
And I don't see them losing.
No, I don't see them
Mississippi
losing.
State. So
Mississippi
they're
State
in.
either.
They're
No.
in.
Yeah, I see a competitive game, but I don't see them losing at all. We'll dive into this and so much more today with our great guest on today's program. We got Roger Wallace joining us out of Austin, Texas. We'll try to explain what happened there with the Longhorns in Athens because that was a rough one. And then Brian Brickley will join us from Oklahoma City. Of course, that is the Texas and Oklahoma. They're obviously rivals going in the complete opposite directions as of right now. And our topics for today will dive deeper into this big Oklahoma game. We talked about it from Alabama's perspective. Can't wait to hear from the Sooner side as well. Texas A&M shocking everyone. Historic comeback win to beat South Carolina. Texas, once again, now 3 losses on the year. What are their playoff hopes? And Auburn men's basketball team, they have a chance to be the #1 team in the nation there in Birmingham. They fall just short to Houston. We will have that and much more coming up next here on our program. Stay with us. Southeast Sports Plus continues on a Monday. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, still digesting what happened over a crazy week in college football, a little bit of college basketball as well. A couple of great games in and around the country involving SEC teams. But first, let's talk now about one of the craziest games. This is a game that even when I pulled my phone up, because I watched part of it to start the game, and I thought, okay, South Carolina's up on Texas A&M. This is probably Texas A&M sleepwalking a little bit. Pull my phone out a little bit later on. So it's 30-3, and I was like, what in the world's going on here?
I think I was sitting on the couch watching the West Virginia game, wasting my time. I don't even know why I wanted to do that. But
Who'd you guys have?
Arizona State.
Arizona State, yeah.
And I had to see Kenny Dillingham on my screen, and I was just like, man, he was just yelling. And honestly, just like Alabama, West Virginia had a chance to win the game.
Yep.
But the self-inflicted wounds hurt them, and West Virginia will not be playing for a bowl game this year, unfortunately, in year 1 under Rich Rod. But I saw the score in the bottom of the screen. I was like, Texas A&M's down 30-3. What in the world is going on in this sport today? but it just felt like at halftime, I saw the clip of Shane Beamer firing up the crowd as he ran into the tunnel at halftime. And honestly, I was like, I've seen this story before.
Yep.
And right when he did that, I was like, man, it is over for them because he thinks they've already have the game won. And Marcel Reed, I think, just wanted to have a new challenge at this point in the season. But
he hasn't had many of them. That's
he
for
has
sure.
not.
But keep in mind, last year South Carolina won this football game. I think they won it by 24. I'm pulling up the
and it derailed Texas A&M's season.
That's right. Texas A&M going into that game was 7-1 overall, 5-0 in the SEC. They lost that game by 24. I was right. So 44-20 was the final score in that one, and then A&M ended up losing 3 of the next 4, and they were done. And so it felt like it was like almost like a here we go again situation. Like South Carolina's up once again. But there was about a moment, 2 moments in the third quarter when I thought that this game was turning around a little bit, and they made 2 huge plays. Marcel Reed was unbelievable in the second half.
Yes.
It was one of those where it was Casey Concepcion had a great catch down the sideline, and a few others. And here you see the tail of the
first half was awful,
unbelievably awful. 2 interceptions, and they were bad interceptions too. Bad interceptions, and then he just 141 yards, 6 completions.
He decided to turn on the controller,
and it goes for a career high. Was a new career high in that game for him?
Yes.
More than 400 yards. There you see the numbers. The numbers in the second half. That would be a good game. That was 30 minutes of football, and he absolutely just unbelievably just uncorked it. 439 total yards passing for Marcel Reed. And one of the things I kept asking myself, and we do this blame game thing on a Monday after the college football season, right, or college football games and pro games. Are you crediting Texas A&M for the comeback, or are you blaming South Carolina? And I seem to fall in the middle. If I'm going to put it one way or the other, it's probably Texas A&M giving them credit, because it just felt like there was a snowball effect that they were able to at halftime. I don't know what Mike Elko said. But there was a snowball effect of, hey, we just need to put together one big play,
right,
and then another, and then it just rolled from there.
I think I have to give credit to Texas A&M because we talk all the time about how you can sometimes get a boost when you fire a head coach. Now in South Carolina's instance,
right,
it was a new offensive coordinator, and you come out and you drop 30 when you're averaging the least amount of points in the SEC. That'll definitely turn some heads.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is still so hard to complete 16 of 20 and throw for nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, even though South Carolina was probably playing prevent defense. It's still hard to do that.
Yes.
South Carolina made Ole Miss's offense look bad, and also Alabama's offense look bad.
Yes.
And I know Marcel Reed, his Heisman odds definitely tanked after this game, even though he had the great second half.
Right.
It just proves to Texas A&M that, hey, we can win any game. I know they might get punished maybe a little bit.
A little bit. I would say, probably a little bit. With Bama losing, I think that they might be able to hold on to spot. But I noticed in the AP poll, which I thought was interesting, they still got a first place vote from one voter.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know who can watch college football and think that Texas A&M is the best team in the country, but they are resilient. And I think that was the big thing for this football team. And Coach Mike Elko, he's had a funny relationship with the fans, because you've alluded to this too, that Texas A&M is going to be that team that finds a way to lose 4 games. And I was on that same train too, that they'll just find a way, especially in November when the games get tough late, they'll find a way to lose those games, just like last year.
Right.
It felt like the beginning part of his message was starting to take form in the second half of the football game, and I think by now almost everybody is at least a somewhat of believer of Coach Elko, and Coach Elko had something to say to the Texas A&M fan base.
Yeah, thank you for staying with us. Sorry for what the first half looked like, but in a lot of ways you propelled us to victory in the second, and so there's not a lot of places where that stadium is going to look like it looked when we come back out after halftime. And so I noticed it obviously in the fourth quarter when the crowd was really going, but then just standing there at the end, sawing them off, and just seeing how full the stadium still was an impressive showing by the 12th man once again.
Mike Elko not only coaches his team to a win to remain undefeated on the season, but also signs an extension there as well. One of the hot commodities in all of college coaching, and he's getting a shot here to stay in College Station.
Well, I think it came out before the game, and you could have made the argument, seeing the score at halftime, that he was a little bit distracted there with the 30-3 deficit. But I would be a little bit reluctant. Yeah, I know Texas A&M. Like I just can't get over the past, and I know he wants you to get over the past with Texas A&M, but I still can't, because another one of these extensions that comes to mind for Texas A&M is Jimbo Fisher, and we saw how that worked out.
That's right.
He's doing great things for this program.
Right.
I just feel like this might be a little bit too early here in year 2 under Mike Elko.
Yeah, and then you see his resume, 12-3 in SEC play, 17 wins overall this year. First 10-win season since 2012. First time since 1992 there. Third time there in program history for Texas A&M. So, I mean, if you're looking at it from a short version perspective, I think that Mike Elko, obviously, he's got the cachet to have this program, where they have them right now. And I think it's good. It might be a little early, but that's today's coaching market. You got to get to these guys early before the other schools come in and swoop them up.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it right now. Some of these coaches aren't really signing extensions that you might think would want to stay at these programs. But he's got a tune-up game against Samford. I think at this point, the message to the team is now you can't overlook anybody, because South Carolina almost just embarrassed you at home.
Yep.
I mean, it had Marcel Reed had the second half as he did the first half.
Yep.
This would be a completely different story, but you can't overlook Samford, and then you've got a Texas team at the end of the year that just suffered their third loss, could be out, but you never know with a win.
Yeah, exactly. And Texas right now, looking forward to that Texas A&M game, because possibly that might be their doorway into the college football playoff. We will talk that and more with our friend Roger Wallace coming up next. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, still digesting a great weekend in college football, college basketball as well. Plenty of games of note. One of the game of the week winner, so to speak, was dubbed that way going into the game, was Texas going between the hedges to face the Georgia Bulldogs. We are joined by our good friend Roger Wallace. Roger, we know you were not in Athens that day, covering a lot of basketball there in the home city, but what did you make of that game? I don't think a lot of people had a blowout win by the scoreboard perspective there for the Georgia Bulldogs. What did you make of Texas there in Athens?
Yeah, it felt like 3 different games rolled into one. The first part, Texas gets the ball, they move it, but they do what they've kind of done all year when they've struggled. Penalties, drop pass, settle for a field goal. So they jump out to the 3-0 lead, then blink of an eye, 14 points from Georgia, and it's 14-3, and you think, okay, it's on. Then Texas starts getting stops. They can't do anything offensively, but they keep it to 11. You got to go all the way to the end of the third quarter, and Texas gets it to 14-10.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they're in it. They do enough. They got the pick from Anthony Hill. Then it looks like they're going to get a stop. Timeout on a measurement or a review. Kirby Smart changes his mind, goes for it on fourth, gets it. Second, fourth down, gets it. Touchdown, onside kick, touchdown, game over.
Wow. Yeah, you're exactly right.
It was that weird,
Mm-hmm. No, you're exactly right. And one of the things that we mentioned this time last week was the fact that, and you mentioned Anthony Hill getting that big play there. They also had Michael Taft back. Got a lot of guys back from injury. Are you surprised to see how poorly, I'm using that word relatively speaking, how poorly the defense played given the fact that all these pieces were returning?
Yeah, because they gave up so many big plays, so many chunk plays to Georgia. And Georgia, their offense just looks so dynamic. And I know it hasn't always been the case this year, kind of like the defense has had their struggles. And for most of the game, they look dynamic. So then you start going, okay, is their opponent? And what's Texas's problems on both sides of the ball? But, Texas scored that touchdown to make it 14-10. And they got the 2 fourth downs, but then they just cruised right into the end zone, and all of a sudden you take away all that momentum. But sure, I mean, this is a Texas defense last year that, they won games, and this year the defense was good enough. They kept them in games, especially early on when you think about what happened against Oklahoma, Kentucky, even Ohio State, where they gave up 14 points. And then all of a sudden it goes the other way, starting with Mississippi State, the fourth quarter against Vanderbilt, the fourth quarter against Georgia. That's 2 in a row, by the way, 21-0. They're outscoring the fourth quarter. Different ways. Vanderbilt, they were hanging on.
Right.
And Georgia, obviously, trying to get back in it, and it snowballed after that onside kick. So, yeah, a lot of questions on a lot of different fronts, and they haven't been in this position a while where just not realistic, especially in the conference race. I know you guys teased that maybe there's a path back into the playoff. I would have agreed with you if it was 21-10, 21-13, Final Four, but I don't know if they can overcome a 25-point loss where the nation wanted to see, okay, was there 4 wins in a row legit, big time, are they back, or they settle back into, okay, big ball game against a team like Georgia, and they can't hang.
Roger, I almost want to ask, like, what do you think the defensive problems are on? Is it a Steve Sarkisian problem? Is it a defensive group mindset and effort and focus problem? Because, I mean, it's like they play 3 quarters now, these last 2 games, and then they just forget how to play in the fourth quarter.
Well, I'll say that the back end isn't what it was last year. Mm-hmm. So they just don't have as good of players on the back end. I will also say when the offense punts the ball quickly over and over, it stands to reason the defense is going to wear down a little bit. And I think that's certainly been a problem for this team. The offense, it doesn't mean they have to score every time, but they need to drive the ball. They need to get the defense off the field. But the back end has been an issue, and they've been exploited. They were exploited by Vanderbilt a little bit. They've always had that other cornerback problem go back to Florida, and that was a double problem at corner because Malik Muhammad, didn't play in that game. And then when Muhammad's in there, it's clear they go away from him on that other side. But they just haven't made the plays. Now, they were on a big tear in that 4-game win streak with sacks. They got up there to being one of the top sack teams in the country. Not getting as many takeaways. Last year, 31 takeaways. So, Brian Niblett hasn't been a factor since the win against Mississippi State. So the kicking game hasn't really been a big weapon. And you could argue, guys, and I was thinking about this yesterday, if you ask the MVP of the Texas team, and as absurd as it sounds, 3 of the Texas 7 wins, Ryan Niblett has changed the game more than anybody else. And those are 3 SEC games, and 2 of them are against, Mississippi State down 17 and number 6 at the time, Oklahoma. It sounds crazy.
Right.
But as far as just sheer difference in the game, those 3 games Niblett was really the difference in the game. So that kind of tells you where this team is this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a chance to hear from Coach Steve Sarkisian on his team underachieving.
I mean, I guess that's into who voted us number one, okay? What I think is that this team has competed their tail off. They've been faced with a lot of different adversity and injuries, and a lot of stuff has come across this team's plate. And I'm very, very proud of them with their resiliency. You know, at the end of the day, at the University of Texas, we're held to a very high standard. And the standard is to compete for championships year in and year out. And we're going to play the best teams in the country. We're going to schedule the best teams in the country. But by the end of the season, we'll play, of our 12 regular season opponents, 5 of those teams will be top 10 teams when we played them, so nearly half our schedule. And we have an opportunity at the end of the regular season to do something that nobody's done since 2019, and that's beat 3 top 10 ranked teams in the regular season. The last team to do that was LSU with Joe Burrow. So have we been faced with a pretty difficult schedule? Have we been faced with high expectations? Sure, but that's why we came here, so we'll be okay.
I find it really interesting, Roger, that you know, Sark and all these coaches, they talk and preach one game at a time, and it's very, you know, it's a very like hyper-focused sensation mentality. But whenever it is a question upon them about certain things, they can rattle off the resume like this and like, hey, 2019, the last time we were able to do this and do that and do this and do that. Does he see? Is this just him politicking in case they go beat Arkansas and beat Texas A&M, that, hey, I'm going to get a 14-day head start on the college football committee to be able to try to get us into the playoff, or is he just being defensive against the fan base that might be grumbling a little bit?
Well, I think the first thing he's saying is we played Ohio State and we didn't have to, and that's probably a win if we don't play them. So then all of a sudden you say, okay, we were a 3-loss team with a game at number 2 in the country on the road, but it doesn't matter because they played them, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the weird thing about college football is the schedule matters. It doesn't work itself out all the time. And I think about, you guys were talking about A&M. Nothing against A&M. They've had a magical year, and I've been sitting down here for 30 years watching them struggle just to play for a conference championship. Hasn't happened in the SEC. It happened once in the Big 12, and they lost to Kansas State. But think about the schedules. No Alabama, no Georgia, no Ole Miss, no Oklahoma.
Yep.
Texas, they didn't play Alabama. They didn't play Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. They didn't play LSU, but LSU isn't what we thought, or that would have been a marquee game.
Right.
They do play Georgia back-to-back. So, again, and it, you know, in the old Big 12, there were divisions, right? So you had a South and a North. You played every team in your division and half the teams in the other division. So you had a pretty clear-cut way of deciding the championship game. Here it's just chaos with 16 teams. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like if A&M wins against Texas, then they should be the SEC champs.
Yeah.
Because you can't have it both ways. You can't look at who they didn't play and then say, well, you know, they went undefeated. They should be the champs. So it's unintended consequence of these just like the Big Ten. Now that'll sort itself out because Indiana and Ohio State, who didn't play in the regular season, are going to play in Indianapolis. But the conference champion race now is so weird because of the massive sizes of the conferences.
Right, absolutely. Springing it forward to this upcoming week, it's an Arkansas team that if you look at their record and look at their resume overall, you're not really impressed. But if you watch them play football, especially offensively with that quarterback in Taylor Green, there's a lot of talent here on this football team. Are there any kind of growing concerns about this Texas defense going up against the Arkansas offense, which is high power, high caliber, and maybe a thought of, hey, we can't look ahead to Texas A&M and got to take care of business against a really good offense?
All those things, and there's no doubt. I think this team, unlike the Florida game, where you know they're coming off 3 non-conference wins and they go to Florida and they get beaten, they say, okay, that was bad, but you know, we got so much in front of us, starting with our biggest rival in Oklahoma, and sure enough, they got things turned around. Now, you don't know, are they teetering here? I mean, this is the day and age of college football where players start making business decisions. Yeah. We don't know the health of Anthony Hill. Reports that he's got a hand injury. We don't know the extent. Sark said they're optimistic that he'll be ready to go. But yeah, they haven't been in this situation in a couple of years where, you know, they're not playing for a lot. I know there might be a path with 3 losses. They're definitely not a path to the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to rely on their love of football, their love of going home. It's not a big rivalry to the players. Yeah, it's a big rivalry to Texas and Arkansas from, days gone by. But yes, I think all those things are a concern of Sark. In fact, he said it today. He said, dangerous game.
Oh, yeah.
You don't usually say that. You usually hear him just say it's the next game. It's a huge game. Not looking ahead, not looking back at what happens. The old Mac Brown line when they lost 5 in a row to Oklahoma. Don't let one loss beat you twice. He won every time after that. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of concerns going into this Arkansas game. And it's also that they don't want to be the one where Arkansas kind of figures it out.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. And I'm really interested in that one, especially that matchup on the Texas defense against the Arkansas offense. We'll flip it over to basketball. I know that you were knee-deep into the hoops this past weekend. This is a basketball team that opened the season against Duke, just like the football team. I mean, you schedule a really tough opponent to start the year. They've picked up 3 wins since then. What do you make here of Coach Miller and the Longhorns?
Well, he was not happy after their win Saturday, the game I was fortunate enough to do when they went 4 of 20 from 3 against Kansas City.
Yeah.
Don't call them UMKC. And they're the Roos, not the Kangaroos, out of the Summit League. It was a noon start, and they kind of played like it. And so it's hard to tell what to make of this team. They play Ryder tomorrow night, and then they will go to Maui. So I trust Sean Miller's a really good coach, really good teacher, but it's just hard to say you have any way to confidently project what this Texas team is going to look like. The simplest way to judge a basketball team is, can they shoot?
Right.
Against Duke, they didn't shoot it very well. Against their next 2 opponents, FDU and Lafayette, they shot it well, didn't shoot it well against Kansas City. So we'll see. I think Maui and beyond is when we'll get a pretty good handle on this team. They got a lot of players. The question is, what does it look like? What kind of rotation? What kind of guys can they lean on? Jordan Pope's a really good shooter. He had a nightmare of a day on Saturday. So this is not sure, wait and see, all the cliches about this team.
Right. Is it a situation, do you think that Coach Miller's still experimenting with the guys? I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't watch the Longhorns and the Roos, but I had a chance to.
You didn't?
I mean, I barely missed it. I forgot.
I meant to watch it.
I might have been watching like Falcons Panthers or something. You got us, Roger?
You got us?
We can't hear you.
Oh, I think we might have.
We might have lost them.
We might have lost you. We'll try to.
My mic got to.
There it is.
We got you.
There we
We got you now.
I can't blame you for not watching, but you can go back and watch the replay.
I can't, and I will. And
lock in.
I'll try.
Yeah, lock in.
Lock
in, G. That's what we're doing after this. We're going back and we're watching the replay.
Longhorns Roos, and I'll watch that team go 4 of 20 from downtown. All right. So with this basketball team, do you think that Coach Miller is trying to find whether it's experimentation or whatever to find his core guys, or does he think he has his core guys and just trying to find a way to get them to mesh?
Yeah, they've got 10 that they play. Now, that it's not realistic to think when they get into the SEC they're going to have a 10-man rotation, more like 8. But yeah, I'm guessing he wants to. Now, there's some that are going to play. Jordan Pope struggled, but he's going to play. He's got to be a valuable player. The 2 big guys have to be valuable. Vokatitis, the FAU transfer, and Lucina Traore, the guy that came with him from Xavier but didn't play last year. He had a double-double Saturday. But then, Tremont Mark's a veteran. Dalen Swain came with him from Xavier. He's been consistent. So now I've already named off about 8 or 9 guys, so maybe they will play 10 in the rotation. But, yeah, we're going to see who steps up and becomes that go-to guy. Last year they had Trey Johnson and everybody else. And a lot of times it was kind of watch Trey go. And it didn't work great a lot of the time. He had some big moments, certainly. I'm really fascinated to see how his coaching affects what this team looks like in a couple of months.
Right, absolutely.
Roger, I know you said it's kind of hard to predict what this team is going to look like, but when you go and play in Maui, which is basically known as one of the best tournaments during Feast Week, what would be I know there's no moral victories in college sports, but what would be a win for Texas finishing Maui with what record?
Well, it's not a field that jumps out at you. There aren't any blue bloods out there. There's no Duke. There's no Carolina. There's no Kentucky. So I don't think it's unrealistic if they can beat Arizona State Monday. That might be their toughest game. What they don't want to do is lose that and have to play Chaminade after a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you guys know, there is no benefit to playing Chaminade because the only thing that can happen is bad.
Yes.
And that's losing to them. And it's happened to Texas before. But,
we've already seen a couple
get by
D2 teams
Arizona
win this year.
State. The other side of the bracket, NC State's probably the biggest name. So I don't think it's unrealistic to think that the toughest game is going to be on Monday against Arizona State.
Absolutely. And we'll be looking forward to that. Auburn, of course, last year won the Maui, made it all the way to the #1 overall seed in the Big Dance. So it could go a long way depending on how everything shakes out. Roger, thank you so much for your time here today.
I get to go to Vegas next week with the women, by the way, guys.
Nice. Hey, buried the lead there.
Now,
that's
a
awesome.
4-team field that could be 3 of them, I think, realistic Final Four teams.
Who's all in that field? Haven't seen the tournament field.
They play UCLA on Wednesday.
Yep.
This is the Players Era Championship.
That's
It's
right,
where
yeah.
it's an NIL tournament. You get paid. There's a ton of men's teams, and there's a 4-team women's tournament.
I think Auburn's
so
in
it's
it.
Texas, UCLA. So right now, what is that? 2 and 4.
Right. Yeah.
And then Duke was top 10, but they've had a lot of issues.
Right.
I don't know if you guys saw what happened with them against West Virginia Friday.
Yeah.
Alma
They
mater.
had to play a second half with 5 players.
I was
Then
joyous.
South Carolina.
Right.
So that's a big time. And then we get on a plane Friday morning at about 6 a.m. and I'll be ready to roll for the A&M game Friday evening.
That's awesome. I want your schedule from Vegas straight to College Station to
Never let Noah Gross say you have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Never let Noah Gross
Yeah, he
talk
does a
bad
lot of
on you.
complaining.
Tell him to redirect all of his
He's too young
complaining.
to complain.
Tell him to redirect all of his complaining into solely Maryland
Into
athletics.
Maryland hoops. Yeah, Maryland hoops and Maryland football. It's certainly enough to go
Exactly.
there.
I said, dude, just chill with them. Enjoy them when they're good.
Exactly.
I learned that a long time ago with Indiana.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. And right now, it's the benefit of that going on the
Right
other
now,
side.
don't wake me up.
Exactly. Roger, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
All right, fellas, talk to you.
Absolutely. Roger Wallace joining us from Austin, Texas. And they have a great crew. But I tell you what, those are 2 awesome assignments. Going to watch the women play in a great tournament there and in Vegas, and then coming back for the Texas A&M Texas game.
Man, that's honestly, that's money right there.
That
But yeah,
is.
I mean, looking at the men's side of the Players Era, I think Auburn is in it.
You're right.
And I think Houston is also in it, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
believe so. I'll go back and look at that bracket.
I
or
believe
the
so.
field. Yeah.
Because I think Syracuse is also in it.
Right.
Which that's a huge tournament there for the Orange. Who knows what they have this year? A couple or 3 blowout wins to start the year. But going back to football, tough one against Georgia.
Yes.
I don't think they can come back from it. And you have to come back, and all you can do is just control what's in front of you. You
Right.
have to beat Arkansas. I was going to say this to him. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 1-score game because that's all that Arkansas plays.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, they're the best 2-7 team in the country.
100%. And with that offense, they are dangerous.
Yep.
And he said that Sark alluded to that. This is a dangerous football team. They can put up a lot of points, especially against the
2-8, sorry.
Yeah, 2-8. Yeah, after the
Because
loss on
LSU,
Saturday.
it was like a 3-point game as well.
That's right.
It's just unreal.
That's right. That's all they play, close games. And we'll continue to play the hits here on Southeast Sports. Plus, we'll look at the AP poll just ahead of the College Football Playoff Committee poll out tomorrow night. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Closing up hour number 1 here on Southeast Sports Plus on a Monday. Now, we do know at this time of the year, the college football committee rankings are the only ones that matter.
Yes.
But we've gotten a little bit of a precursor to what those rankings look like with the AP poll, which we've been using since the preseason. So you had the preseason poll and then the AP poll. AP poll comes out on Mondays, and for the last 2 weeks, at least the top 5 have mirrored what we saw for the college football playoff committee poll. So people might be asking the reason why you're using the AP poll, and it's a bit of a I wouldn't say it's a telltale sign, but it does seem like the pollsters from the media and the pollsters on the committee think for the most part kind of alike. So I think it is kind of still useful at this point.
Yeah, and I think the variation is maybe 3 spots at most.
Yes.
I mean, some of them it gets closer, it gets narrower as you get inside the top 20. I think the 25 through 21 that's kind of let's see who's hot right now.
Right.
And then we'll put them in there. College Football Playoff Committee, it seems like it is a little interesting to me because I think they go off of eye test more even on the lower teams.
Yes.
And I think that's why Iowa was still in it.
Right.
That's why Tennessee was still in it. You can make the argument. Tennessee is one of the best 3-loss teams because their 3 losses are against top 15 teams.
All
so,
top
I mean,
15,
it's been tough, but let's roll right into this week's poll.
Let's take a look at the poll here. Go from 25 all the way up to number 1. Houston, not ranked last week. They're at 25, followed by Tulane. Missouri still holding a spot there in the top 25. That was a really nice win. Of course, Bo Prabula was out. Went to the freshman Zollers. Ahmad Hardy, the running back, had a really good game. North Texas looks to be probably them and James Madison. That's probably the highest. I was going up and down the poll. Highest ranked G5s are right there with those 2 squads.
And this is a monumental moment for the North Texas program because they're ranked for the first time since 1959. That's how far back you have to go back to find North Texas ranked. But yeah, I mean, it seems like the group of 5, no one wants to win.
No, right.
Like no one wants to be the group of 5 champion.
Yeah.
So we're just seeing mass chaos right now. And it's been entertaining, but at the same time, it almost makes you wonder, all right, are we going to get a dud in the 12-5 game?
Right.
Because last year, it wasn't the group of 5 team got the first round bye.
Right.
And Penn State kind of rolled Boise State.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think at some point we'll see a group of 5 honestly take down a team. In the college football playoff, I don't know if it's going to be this year just because there's too much turmoil.
Yeah, there's a lot of turmoil between the teams out of the American, the teams there out of the Conference USA, and others. So we will see there. Of course, we're here in the Sun Belt with South Alabama plays, and so represented there by JMU. Moving into that top 20, you see the Tennessee Volunteers still holding on to that spot, and you mentioned it. The highest ranked 3-loss team would be the Texas Longhorns there at number 17. So right there, kind of in the mix. In between them, you have Virginia and Michigan. Michigan, of course, still has Ohio State to play at the end of the year. So we're talking about a Michigan team kind of like Alabama. If they win out, they'll give themselves a possible chance. They're at 8-2 right now so far on the season. And USC, who got a big win this past weekend over Iowa. I took the -6.5 on that one. And
no, it didn't work.
That one hurt. That one
hurt.
One by 5.
I feel like Michigan and USC have some of the more interesting storylines heading into these last 2 weeks of the regular season because either one of them could play spoiler to the SEC getting 5 teams in. I think it's still going to be one ACC team. The conference itself has just imploded as we've seen over the course of the year. But if Michigan wins out, beats Ohio State, I think you could definitely make the argument. But USC's got a big one in Eugene this weekend, and that's going to have major implications on the line.
As I was looking at the college football the week ahead, I think that I'm the most interested in that football game. I'm most interested in a USC Oregon because I think that if USC wins that game, we're now opening ourselves up to more teams out of other conferences being able to get in, which I think everyone that does get in, it will squeeze another SEC team out of the mix. And I was thinking, a couple of weeks ago, possibly the SEC could get 6 teams. That might be a pipe dream.
That's gone now.
I think 5 is at the max now, and it could be 4 if other things, go awry in and around the country. Georgia Tech I found really interesting. They beat Boston College. Barely though. And I think what I really like about the pollsters so far is they're not just going on straight rankings. You mentioned this. There's a lot of talk here that you need to look good. You have to pass the eye test. And the fact that Georgia Tech keeps winning but not passing the eye test, they keep going down. There you see Miami in there as well. Vandy, the highest ranked team on this group right here. BYU, which got a nice win over the weekend as well. And Utah here. What sticks out?
I think Vanderbilt being at 12 is very interesting. I think the FPI has them at like a 30, or actually, no, I think it's like a 10% chance of making the college football playoff, which I think that's a little bit interesting. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I think a Vanderbilt win over Tennessee is great for the resume. Yeah, Tennessee has 3 losses, but, I mean, they are 2 all top 10 teams.
Yep.
I mean, Alabama, that was a close game up until the pick 6. I'm blanking. Georgia, that was a back-and-forth game.
That's right.
And then the Oklahoma game. And that Oklahoma one doesn't even look that bad right now because Oklahoma just went on and beat Alabama.
Went on the road there and beat Alabama, So that will be really interesting there to see how these teams shake up, especially the teams there out of the Big 12. Inside the top 10 we go. Alabama dropping down 6 spots to number 10, followed by Notre Dame, Oklahoma there at number 8. And you have Oregon and Texas Tech there, both ranked at number 6. And then the top 5 looks like this. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Ole Miss. Do you expect the College Football Playoff Committee to do the same thing? We will find out coming up tomorrow night. Hour number 2 of Southeast Sports Plus continues after the break.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Well, the Auburn Tigers entered their matchup with the #1 team in the country with an undefeated record. They made the short trip over to the Birmingham area, played at Legacy Arena against the #1 Houston Cougars, two teams that were in the Final Four last year. The game came down to the wire. Houston made all the plays defensively. Tell me if you're surprised to come up with the big win, 73-72. Auburn suffers its first loss of the season and the first L for new head coach Stephen Pearl. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh with you. Patrick, I have been thoroughly intrigued by the amount of marquee games that have been on the slate here in college hoops, featuring SEC teams that are not in the SEC. We talked about it with Roger Wallace in the first hour, how Texas opened the season with the Duke Blue Devils. Bama played Purdue. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then Auburn playing this marquee game against Houston. I know moral victories are not a thing, but if you're Auburn and losing all the talent from last year, you have to feel really good about yesterday's performance.
No, and Stephen Pearl will tell you that there are no moral victories in college sports, but I think this team has answered the bell since the opening night dud against Bethune-Cookman. A lot of people were concerned, like, oh no, what are the Auburn Tigers going to look like this year? I mean, Bethune-Cookman is taking them to overtime, but I think that also goes to show you how good Bethune-Cookman is. I mean, we talked about it. They shot the lights out. They forced overtime. And this one, it felt like Auburn had a chance to win, just like their friends over there in Tuscaloosa on the gridiron had a chance to win. It came down to free throws, and Auburn just could not hit free throws. And that's you talk about it all the time. What's going to kill you in college basketball games? Missing free throws.
Missing free throws, exactly. Turnovers and missed free throws. I'm going to pull the box score back up. I believe they missed 12 on the day. I'm going to pull it up just to make sure.
I think they had two guys that went 3 for 8 from the line.
Yeah, I mean, 12 it was. 21 of 33. You just can't
do that, especially, number one, being in the SEC, number two, being a top 25 team, and number three, playing the #1 team in the country. Like, you just can't.
Right.
I mean, you got to take what they're giving you, and they're giving you free trips to the line. You have to hit the free throws. But at the same time, I mean, they played well.
They did. They shot the ball 39% from the floor, 32% from downtown. They shot 7 of 22 on the day. You mentioned all those missed free throws. I think if you're Auburn, you look at yourself in the mirror and say, we played a terrible basketball game and still were within 1 point. They had the ball late in the paint, Houston 3 times. I mean, it was the referees really let them play down there. But Auburn, in the last, I would say, maybe 30 seconds, had at least 3 shots there at the goal. And Houston just played incredible defense and were able to get it done. But if you're Auburn, you got to be thinking, man, if we just didn't spoil a bunch of early opportunities, we'd be right up here with leading the game by 4 or 5 points.
You could have had the chance to get a marquee win early on under Stephen Pearl. I mean, it came down to it. I know he voiced his frustration with the officiating. But
he did.
Still, I mean, it was a close game. Again, he could have won it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. 3 guys for the Auburn Tigers in double figures, led by Keyshawn Hoss, 20 points. You had Tahad Pettiford scored 15, and you had Kevin Overton with 13 points on the day. Pettiford 3 of 8 from downtown. And he was basically the best 3-point shooter on the day. Auburn hit 7 threes, shot 22 on the day. Meanwhile, for the Houston Cougars, is a guard-led team led by freshman Kingston Flemings. There he is right there, number 22, 8 of 13. When you think about Houston, you always think about defense. But I'll tell you what, that guy right there, he's a player for Coach Ralph Sampson.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he definitely showed it there last night. Coming into the season, all the talk was on Emmanuel Sharp coming back. I believe this is his 6th year with the Cougars in college basketball. But that guy right there, Flemings, I mean, he played pretty good. But we'll come back to Auburn-Houston here in a second. We do have some breaking news here.
Okay, wow.
James Franklin.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin as head coach.
Wow. So it's happening. So James Franklin, we have talked about this ever since he was fired from Penn State. One of the big things that we talked about was a stipulation in his contract that he had to be actively searching for a job, whether it's in broadcast or as a head football coach. Virginia Tech has been saying this for a long time. They fired their coach, Brent Pry, and they have been saying for a while they're going to put resources into athletics, specifically into football. I think the number was north of $100 million. And they said enough for James Franklin to come on as the new head coach. Was he the first fired of the P4?
No, that was Sam Pittman.
Pittman was the first fired.
It was Pittman, and then it went Brent Pry.
Right.
And then it went then it was Sean Foster.
Okay, yeah.
Or no, Foster was before
Foster,
Pry.
yeah.
So Foster was the second, but there's no money. Like the money part of the contract isn't out yet. I would be shocked if it was more than $9 million.
Yes, me too.
I mean, you just can't.
Right.
Because then you can use that extra money and invest it in your program.
Exactly.
Rather than just paying Penn State. I think this is a major, major, major loss for Penn State.
Right,
because
absolutely.
When you think about college coaches, they usually fall under one of three categories, unless you're Nick Saban and you're just under all three, but he's a unicorn.
Yeah.
You're either really good at recruiting.
Yes.
Really good at managing games, or really good at coaching NFL talent.
Correct.
It's usually one of three.
Right.
James Franklin is a really good recruiter.
Yeah, he is.
And the fact that he's going to Blacksburg, Virginia, which is still, I still consider Virginia in the northeast-ish.
Sure.
I think
same.
I think North Carolina is usually where I'd start to consider the southeast.
Right.
That's usually like my line.
Mm-hmm.
I think this hurts Penn State because he's so good at recruiting that area, and he's still somewhat in that area.
Yes.
I mean, Blacksburg's not too far.
Right. I would say they're recruiting a lot of the same guys.
Yeah.
In both those schools. Yeah.
And now Penn State is going to have to compete with their former head coach who had guys committing to Penn State because he was so good at recruiting. This is a major, major loss for Penn State.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to recover because right now that northeast sector, which has so much, it has an abundance of talent.
Oh, yeah. The talent.
Now they're going to go to Virginia Tech because they're going to invest the money now.
Yes.
I'm excited to see, even though Virginia Tech's a arch rival of my alma mater, West Virginia.
That's right.
I'm excited to see how electric Lane Stadium is again.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I think it's – and the ACC is great for him too.
Yes, that was my biggest takeaway. Is I wanted to know what conference he's going to, because you and I talked about it. We debated about it when a couple of SEC jobs, when the second SEC job came open, you had Arkansas, then you had Florida open, and then of course, obviously, since then LSU's been open as well, and Auburn. So when you had all those teams out there, I was like, I could see James Franklin trying to get back into the SEC.
Yeah.
However, in today's world of college football, where we already have a 12-team playoff and could have a 16-team playoff a little bit later on, it could be a very interesting situation to not go to the SEC, go to the ACC or the Big 12, whether it's a team like Oklahoma State or whatever is open right now, to be able to go to another league and try to dominate that league.
What does James Franklin do best? He beats teams that have less talent than he does.
Yes, absolutely.
At Penn State.
Right.
It was always when he played a team with equal or greater talent.
Right.
That sometimes, or not sometimes, most of the time his teams just wouldn't be able to pull out the win. I know the Ohio State game last year was a close loss. The Oregon Big Ten Championship was a close loss. Notre Dame was a close loss.
Yeah.
But in the ACC, you're not going to find a lot of teams that have better talent than you because it's just the ACC isn't really a football conference anymore.
Yep.
Until these other programs start throwing money in as well, I could see Virginia Tech easily sitting in the top 5 of the ACC as long as they want to keep Franklin there.
No question. I just because curiosity killed me, I had to pull up their schedule for next year, and not every game is set in stone right now. The ACC game's still working out, but they play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 home games.
Wow.
Their schedule is they open with VMI, then Old Dominion. Both those games are at home. Then they go on the road to face Noah Gross's Maryland Terrapins there in College Park. Then they go to James Madison, they host James Madison. Which is a dangerous football team, but in my opinion, if I'm doing a look-ahead line, there's probably a little bit better than them. Virginia, Georgia Tech, NC State, and Pitt are all at home. The game's on the road. Miami, Boston College, go to Cal, and then Clemson. So your one trip to the West Coast is to go play Cal in Berkeley. That should be a win there. Everybody else is at home or in Miami, short trip. Boston College, short trip, obviously, and then the Clemson game,
short trip.
So I think he has to look at the schedule and say, hey, like, this is very, 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 very winnable. If you go 10-2, 11-1 with this schedule, you could literally be in the college football playoff next year.
I think 10-2 easily gets you in the ACC championship,
Yes.
just based on how we've seen it this year. I mean, there was thought that a 4-loss Duke team could have been playing for the ACC championship
Correct.
this year.
Right.
I know that kind of shaked itself out with a Virginia loss this past weekend. But I wouldn't be surprised now to see all of the Penn State commits that decommitted after he was fired.
Yes.
Just head down to Blacksburg.
To see how many
and
of them
that's
go to
going to be
Blacksburg.
awful
Yeah.
for Penn State, because now you're going to have to get a guy that can recruit. You're going to need to get a guy that can tap into two of those specialties, as I like to say. You have to find a guy that can recruit. You need to win back the Northeast somehow from James Franklin. That's priority number one, because he's just basically going to steal all your guys now. And number two, you need a guy that can manage the games, because that's just what Franklin was just unable to do for Penn State.
Right. And I think that at Virginia Tech, of course, they have high expectations. I mean, this is a team that had Frank Beamer for a long time. They enjoy those Michael Vick years and a program that's been really solid for a very long time. However, I do think that there is a certain, maybe not what Eli Drinkwitz has at Missouri, but there's a certain leash that is going to be a lot longer at Virginia Tech than it is at Penn State. And he knows how to pick them as far as the home game operations, because Penn State, obviously phenomenal, and my favorite ever, my favorite as far as college entrances go, is Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech.
Yes.
And so college football atmosphere, from the atmosphere standpoint, I think this is a hire that really, I know this is the first in the coaching cycle,
carousel,
so to speak, and the carousel, but I think that this is a home run if you're Virginia Tech, and possibly a huge loss if you're, like you mentioned, if you're Penn State, considering that he'll still be in your backyard, still trying to get players to go to Blacksburg instead of there. I had to look up the number for Virginia Tech. They plan to add $229 million.
Yes, $229. That's what I just saw as well.
So $229 lets you know that they are committed to football, because I knew James Franklin was not going to go to a place, being where he's from, being the fact that he's got ties to both the NFL but also the SEC and the Big Ten. He was not going to go to a place that he knew they could not win, and not a place that's not tied financially to being successful. He thought Virginia Tech was. Now
and Pete Thamel was the one that broke this. It came out just a few minutes ago, but he does expect. Obviously, Penn State was on the hook for $49 million of his contract.
Right.
But he says that number is subject to offset and should end up being significantly less pending the terms of Virginia Tech's contract. So he's projecting that Virginia Tech is paying more than $9 million to him, which I just find it a little bit interesting, because, I mean, now they have to pay Penn State.
Right.
You could have gotten Franklin. Franklin would have gotten $9 million a year regardless.
Yes.
You could have spent a few more dollars. I mean, they know more than we do, obviously, but Franklin, major ties to the I-95 area. I mean, Blacksburg is just it sits in such a perfect spot, because he's also so good at. Not only is he good at recruiting the Pennsylvania area, he's good at recruiting the DMV area, the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area.
And that's
major. That's where a lot of talent comes. You want to talk about Florida, you want to talk about New Jersey, the DMV is a major talent pool.
It's absolutely huge in various sports, but especially in football. So he brings a resume that has 68% of his games he's won, and won more than 120 games as the head coach there at Penn State. He replaces Brent Pry, of course, who was fired after that 0-3 start to the season. I just think this is a major home run here for Virginia Tech. We'll see how it all shakes out. And in a topsy-turvy world of college football, the coaching vacancies, they're now starting to be filled. The first domino falling is James Franklin going over to Blacksburg to coach Virginia Tech. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we continue our number 2. Stay with us. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, we had the breaking news moments ago. It was talked about for a little while over the weekend. It is finalized today. James Franklin, the new head coach at Virginia Tech. Of course, he was fired earlier this offseason as Penn State's head coach. He'll stay in that northeastern part of the United States and going to the ACC. I think this is a major hire here for Virginia Tech. So the first wheel, so to speak, the first turn of the coaching carousel.
And you're going to have to tell me when I'm wearing that Pitt shirt on the show, because I was so confident that he was going to the SEC that I said I'd wear a Pitt shirt if he didn't. So unfortunately, if any of my West Virginia people are listening right now, I am not wearing it out of fandom. I'm wearing it because I have to.
Yep. So Patrick was very adamant that James Franklin was going to come to the SEC. Some jobs were open. The Arkansas job. You had the Florida job. Possibly LSU opening up, but that did not happen. And Patrick will be wearing a Pitt Panther shirt coming up this week. And actually, it's perfect timing because Pitt just embarrassed themselves all over again, both off the field and on the field, with Narduzzi and whatnot in the comments ahead of the Notre Dame game. But let's go back to the courts where we were earlier, talking both Auburn and Houston. But another big game there for the Miami Hurricanes. Got a big win, or for the Florida Gators, got a win over the Miami Hurricanes this past weekend. 82-68 was the final score. Your defending national champions now, they beat Miami 3 straight times. Alex Condon, he was a monster. 19 points in this game, got in a little foul trouble early. What'd you make here of the defending champs now coming away with another big win over the rivals?
Well, it seems like everyone wrote them off at the beginning of the year, and I wouldn't say that I personally wrote them off. You can't expect them to be a top 2 seed. They're going to make the tournament.
Right.
I just did not expect them to make, or I don't expect them to be a top 2 seed. I still think they're going to be a 4 or 5 seed, and the good thing is they're beating the teams that they should beat.
Absolutely.
They beat Florida State right before, even though that was a little bit of a scare that they had to muscle their way out of. This one was never really in doubt. As you mentioned, Alex Condon, he had to deal with foul trouble. He did end up fouling out of the game, but still was able to put up 19 points on 8 of 12 shooting and added a couple of three-pointers there. So I almost feel like I have to eat my own words as well, because I thought Thomas Hall was going to overtake Condon, but 2 of the last 3 games, the story's been on Condon.
Yes, exactly, and it's been a nice little 1-2 punch here between Condon and Hall, because Hall, he didn't have a bad game. He scored 17 points there in that matchup. I think that could be a nice 1-2 punch for Coach Golden as his team moves forward, because there's 2 guys take up a lot of space. They're really big. Defensively, I don't know all their individual metrics, but it seems to me that they have a nice defensive presence. They held Miami to just 68 points there in the game. Talked about the fouling, and I know that coach is going to want them to play hard without fouling, because it feels like if you have 1 or 2 of these guys that are in foul trouble, it could really hamper your offense a little bit, offensive production. But the Gators now 3-1. They play Merrimack coming up next. Auburn played Merrimack a little while ago, but these are 3 nice wins here. We got a win over North Florida, got a win over Florida State, and over Miami. So I think a lot of people are looking at this team a little bit differently after giving up 93 points in the opener to Arizona.
Yeah, and I know that after this game up against Merrimack, it gets rough.
Yeah.
And TCU's no slouch. The Big 12 should rebound this year and become maybe – I could see the argument that the Big 12 could overtake the SEC again for being the best basketball conference, but then you have Duke in the SEC ACC Challenge, and then you have UConn. So, this is where Todd Golden's going to find out what his team is made of. But I think this TCU game is going to be very interesting because, they played Michigan recently, and Michigan is expected to be pretty good this year. So I don't really know exactly what to expect. Again, Florida's beaten the teams that they should, in not only in Power 4, but also out of Power 4 as well. And then their in-state rivals, Florida State and Miami. But this will yet again be another good test for Todd Golden and his team.
Absolutely. I want to find out their ranking, their newest Ken Palm ranking, because you would figure that that they would have that they bump up playing. They've played now 3 Power 4 teams so far this season. And
I believe their AP poll ranking is 10, though.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And right there in the Ken Palm, they're number 8 right now in Ken Palm. And right now their defensive rating, that's what I was looking at, is number 6 in the country. When you adjust for tempo, number 8 in the country, and offensively number 17. So top 20 in all those categories. And so I think that this is a nice little steady run here for Coach Golden and his guys as they look to win another national championship this year. And to me, this is a really interesting time, not only for Florida as it relates to their basketball team, but also Florida as it relates to their football team as well. Football obviously looking for a new head coach after firing Billy Napier. It's to me, obviously, a super proud program. And they continue to play hard.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. They're playing hard here for interim head coach Billy Gonzalez.
I think the game against Kentucky was a one-off.
Yes.
That shocked pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
No one could have predicted that. But, I mean, they gave Ole Miss a run for their money.
Absolutely.
And, honestly, I think I brought it up last week when we had Camden Morris on. I was like, you know, what happens if Lane Kiffin loses this game? I feel like the narrative is going to be, well, he just wanted to throw the game so that way he could get to Gainesville a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
And honestly, for a while, I was like, DJ Lagway's playing pretty good.
Yep. He was playing really good football. And I found it funny. We'll talk both on and off the field. I'll talk off the field for one quick second. I found it hilarious that both the Florida fans and the Ole Miss fans were wearing "We Want Lane" shirts on.
Yes.
We want Lane Kiffin, and then handed Kewan Lacey the belt. The BTA.
That's what has started to come to fruition. In the recent weeks.
Absolutely. But you're right. I think there's a Florida team that continues to fight, but Ole Miss was just a little too strong.
Little too strong indeed. And honestly, I think it's a little bit shocking to me that Lane has been kind of mum about his future. It would be a little bit. If I were an Ole Miss fan, I'd be a little concerned because I was listening to his press conference the other day, and it doesn't give you any reassurance.
Yeah.
Even though I do think he's gonna stay.
Me too. Yeah.
Like, again, it's not always greener on the other side.
Right.
And he has a chance to win a national title this year.
Yep.
I don't think that they're going to get embarrassed by Mississippi State. Now, crazier things have happened.
Right.
But even then, I could still see a 2-loss Ole Miss team making the college football playoff.
Me too.
Because of that road win at Oklahoma.
Yep. I do too. And with Lane, sometimes I wonder, because Lane is very calculated. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder how much of this kind of silence is a calculated thing, just to make, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you gave him some truth serum. He comes down and says, I just wanted to make our fans sweat a little bit, or make himself even feel better. Like, hey, I'm really wanted by all these people, and people can call that insecure or whatever. But I just think that there's a part of him that might think, okay, let me hold off on this, and even if it's to be able to get a little bit more money. Or if it's Jimmy Sexton saying, hey, look, or his agent saying, hey, look, just stay quiet for a little bit.
Jimmy Sexton's always going to want more money.
100%.
He's going to make so much money.
Oh, this offseason.
It's just unreal.
This offseason for him, it's going to be like when a real estate agent just has like an incredible summer and he's selling, he or she's selling mansion after mansion.
Just swimming in money.
Yes, everything is selling, and you're just off on a hot streak. That is going to be Jimmy Sexton this year. But we did get a chance to hear from the Florida interim head coach, Billy Gonzalez, after a hard-fought game but a loss in Oxford.
They came out, they had a long drive. They got the ball back on the minus 25. They had a long drive, and if you take a look at that, it's a freak play. We got them to a 4th and 7, and quarterback throws the ball, it gets batted down, he catches his own pass and gets a first down. And then right after that, we gave up an explosive. I think that's one thing we need to continue to harp with and continue to clean up is we've got to eliminate the explosive plays. Explosive plays, we talk about it on the offensive side, what they can do for momentum for the offense. It puts points up, and so we've got to eliminate the explosive plays. We got them to a 4th and 1 in big personnel. They got first down, but all of a sudden we kind of parlayed it in a 4th and 1 on the 1, and we stopped them, which is a big time stop for us. We got the ball back at 7:51 on the clock on the minus 1 yard line. Thought process when you get the ball back then is to try to get 2 first downs. Move the field position, play the battle of field position. We ended up popping a really nice pass to Tony for close to 44 yards. We got the ball out. Tommy came in and punted the ball and completely flipped the field for us. So we did a really good job of flipping the field. They got the ball back. We stopped them. We made them punt. And then right here, the second that second drive we had a 3 and out, which was critical because we had the punt. They got the ball back on a 3rd and 5. They had another explosive play. They got down to a 1st and goal. Had a TD run, took them up to 24-27.
As Billy Gonzalez breaking down the game there in Ole Miss, team played very, very well, but it was the play of a couple of guys, and I thought Trinidad Shambliss did a really good job there at quarterback, but their running back in Kewan Lacey has been unbelievable.
I think we need to start having a talk here.
Okay.
I think Kewan Lacey is not only the best running back in the country. You can make the argument he's the best running back in Ole Miss history.
Possibly, yeah.
He's up to 19 touchdowns, I believe, this year. And he's going to be the first running back off the board. In the draft in Pittsburgh.
In the draft, he is a prototypical back, and he has just been unbelievable for this football team. He does it so many different ways because he can beat you with speed, he can beat you with power, and of course, like you said, he's got a nose for the end zone. He's found the end zone dang near 20 times this season, and this is an offense that really likes to throw the football, and so sometimes you have lighter boxes, but then 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1. They're not afraid to hand it right to Kewan Lacey. There you see his numbers: 31 carries, 224 yards, 3 touchdowns in the game against Florida this past week. And if I saw it right there, they have both Kewan Lacey and Ahmad Hardy as the SEC Player of the Week award winners this year for the offense. There you see his numbers, though. Just an unbelievable day. A 59-yard run that popped it there in that football game. But I think you're right. When I see him, I see an NFL running back. This is what I see.
And you know what I see?
What's that?
They're not spelled the same, but I see another Lacey. In him.
Yeah.
The former Alabama running back Eddie Lacy.
That's right, Eddie Lacy. Yeah,
he had a pretty good. Yeah, his career was short in the NFL, but I always remember watching Green Bay games, and anytime there was a big game, he would show up.
Exactly, yeah, and he was huge there in that game, and we did get a chance to hear from Lane Kiffin on that win, thanks in large part to Kewan Lacey.
Really unusual game, Trinidad misses a throw that he makes 100 out of 100 times. When he dirts the ball, it is right on the 4th down to leave it down there on the 1. So some unusual things happen, but you got to overcome those. I feel like in this course of this season, we've gotten a lot of breaks, I've said. And then today some went the other way, like the hands to the face during the kick. That's not post-kick, okay? So that should be first down there. And doesn't do any good when you come over, you talk about it, and then you say afterwards, yeah, you're right. Well, that's the point of getting it right as officials. So that was really frustrating, as you probably saw, because that's a critical play. It's 1st and goal right there instead of the field goal, and obviously it was during the kick. So whatever.
He didn't get fined for that. I don't think.
How
do you not get fined for that?
For all of the stuff that I've heard about officials and critiquing officials, I think what saved him there is when he was saying back when he was quoting the officials saying that the officials told him he was right. So maybe that saves him. But I mean, nobody else was in that conversation. But usually the league is like, hey, they want coaches to stay away from criticizing the officials because it's like, hey, we all live under the same umbrella over here. But I was right there with you. I found it hilarious that he did not get fined.
And I'm not a Lane hater, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lane was watching this because he's always on social media. He always does some trolling. We do a little bit of trolling around here, but I mean, I thought that was a little bit shocking.
Yeah.
But he's right.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I mean, you can't just be like, yeah, you're right. Because let's say, for example, it's in a much bigger situation. It's in the SEC championship. It's in the college football national championship. You were right. Doesn't really do him any good.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. And you want to get it right on the field.
Right. And this is why we have reviews and stuff. I'm a proponent of, hey, if there's I think there's a fine line between a play that shouldn't be reviewed versus a play that should be reviewed.
Yes.
I think 85% of plays should be reviewed.
Yeah.
There's a couple where it's like, all right, well, we can't just review everything. But
right.
We've seen it time and time again this year. I can criticize the officials because I won't get fined from the SEC. I mean, we saw it with Auburn this year.
Yeah.
And now we saw it there.
Yeah.
SEC, don't find me.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, it's not been a great year for SEC officiating.
No.
That is for sure. Coming up next year on Southeast Sports Plus, we dive back into that Alabama-Oklahoma game. Sooners once again getting a big win over the Crimson Tide, keeping their college football playoff hopes alive. We head over to Oklahoma City coming up next. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, one of the biggest events of this past weekend was in Tuscaloosa as Alabama took on Oklahoma. And for the second straight year, the Oklahoma Sooners come away with a win over the Crimson Tide. Last year, 24-3 in Norman. This year, 23-21 in Tuscaloosa. We are happy to be joined by Brian Brinkley. And Brian, we got a chance to talk to you last week about just where this Oklahoma football team was. Got a big win over Tennessee, and then now go another road trip to Tuscaloosa and go beat Alabama. What did you make of Coach Brent Venables' team being able to pull off this game and end Alabama's 8-game winning streak?
That's a huge win, and let's face it, the defense is what won that football game, and that's, I think, why Brent Venables is extra happy about the way that happened. I mean, you look at it, I think Alabama had 25 more snaps than OU. I think I heard a stat. It was the OU's fewest total yards gained in a win in 24 years.
Wow.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Which would have been 0-1. I never did go back to see which game that was, but I know the 0-1 OU offense had some issues. So that doesn't surprise me. And the 0-1 OU defense was also very good. So those turnovers were huge. I said it last week. I think they're going to need to get some turnovers. And by George, that not only do they get a turnover, they get another defensive score in the first quarter to kind of get some early momentum and quiet the crowd in Tuscaloosa. And then I thought OU really played with a lot of poise after that because Alabama kept making, Alabama answered just about every time they needed to answer until the last drive.
Absolutely.
And it still took a deflected pass there by Peyton Bowen at the end to clinch it. But what a gutsy effort by that Sooner team. And the offense did what they needed to do. It wasn't a great offensive performance, but they did what they needed to do to get a win, and obviously a place that not a lot of visitors come away with W's.
For sure. We talked about John Mateer a lot at the beginning of the season because it looked like he was leading his team. The numbers weren't gaudy, but they were there. And then after the hand injury, there was some question marks, but it feels like over the last couple of weeks, in the game in Knoxville, in the game in Tuscaloosa, you're starting to see remnants of the old John Mateer, that 20-yard touchdown run. It felt like it he was getting back there. What did you make of Mateer in his game and just being able to control the game and control the offense and, like you said, do what they needed to do?
I think that as we're watching this, because I didn't see much of Mateer before he got to Oklahoma, as I'm watching him as this season goes on, I'm kind of seeing what his personality as a player is and as a leader. And he's just one of those, I hate to compare him to Baker Mayfield, but he's just a whatever it takes kind of guy. And he's got this grit and toughness about him. His game, sometimes it's pretty, but it's not always pretty. Even the run was kind of just this weird twirling, spinning, bouncing off people, but he got into the end zone. That kind of defines John Mateer, I think. And I think he's one heck of a leader for this offense. And he, specified it on the post-game interview. It wasn't you getting the win, it was we getting the win. It wasn't John Mateer got a win, it was Oklahoma as a team, and he went out of his way to praise what the defense did, because obviously they put OU in some very good positions. I think Oklahoma's got quite a leader at quarterback, maybe the best they've had since Jalen Hurts.
Brian, I want to talk about the defense a little bit, because heading into this game, all the talk was about the secondary just unable to just be able to contain some of these guys. I think they allowed 700-plus passing yards over the last two games, the Ole Miss and Tennessee. How impressed were you of the Oklahoma defense, making Ty Simpson look lost out there almost?
It was very impressive. And like one of those sacks is a Devon Jordan, who hasn't played much, on a corner blitz, and Alabama had no clue he was coming. I mean, that's a little bit of what a Brent Venables defense does, and this defense is learning and progressing as the season goes on. They gave up some plays. I mean, Cuevas goes untouched on the 25-yard touchdown pass, but generally I thought they really kept Ty Simpson uncomfortable, and and the Eli Bowen pick six as well. That pass was nowhere close to where it needed to be, and OU's right where they needed to be, gets the pick and the return. I thought it was a tremendous performance. I mean, they gave up some plays, but they made more plays than they gave up.
Absolutely. We'll get your thoughts about this defense here, because no R. Mason Thomas in this football game, but I'll tell you what, Taylor Wine really came to play. It just feels like this defense has that next man up mentality, and to me, that I think that kind of stems from the coach. What did you make of Brent Venables just being able to say, hey, this is what we have, this is what we can control, and then taking his team and being able to execute the way that they did?
I think that's exactly the way Brent Venables wants his defense to be, right there, as next man up. Now, it's great to have a star. If you have an All-American at linebacker or defensive line, that's tremendous. But they're so deep. We've talked about it throughout the year. It's really a very strong two-deep defense. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the best OU's two-deep on defense they've had ever, or at least in a long, long time. And so I wasn't really that concerned about R. Mason Thomas being out. Obviously, he's a great player. He's probably OU's best defensive player, but they got so many guys who want to get in there and can play at a very high level. It just meant more opportunities for some of those other guys. And Taylor Wine, I think, is one of the more underrated guys in the SEC, and we saw the play he made there late in the game to cause the turnover, which was really kind of the final, not really the final straw there, but it was just a huge play to give Oklahoma a chance to take the lead back, which they did, and they didn't give it up after that.
Absolutely. We'll get your thoughts on the playoffs, the potential playoffs, in just a bit. Here is head coach Brent Venables on getting that win.
Again, I think that we've recruited a lot of really tough guys that believe in themselves and each other, and certainly in how we do what we do. And we try to put a lot of stress and pressure on them constantly as we develop our team. And, at the end of the day, man, the guts and the will and the edge and the belief that comes from, our players. And we try to create vision for them. I think it kind of starts with that, and then it's belief, and then you got to be willing to kick the door in and take the action that it requires, and be the one that kind of lines up, get nose to nose, and it's about competing to win, and everything has magnitude and everything matters. So our players have really bought into that, and they haven't flinched. When the fire is raging and things are looking a little desolate, man, they have responded several times this year, and they certainly have the last couple of weeks when it mattered the most. So just have got a lot of respect for our players. And I thought they put respect on, again, our brand again this week. And for this program, for this team, 131, and certainly in this conference. I thought they represent themselves in an incredible way.
So everybody's now talking about the playoff and potential playoff, and everybody's trying to forecast what that 12-team bracket will look like. As it stands right now, no, the AP poll doesn't matter big picture, but it is a nice little precursor. As it stands right now, Oklahoma is the highest-ranked two-loss team according to the AP poll. What do you think we'll see coming up tomorrow from the committee? And do you believe that this team, if they win out, they are going to be a part of that Final 12?
Well, as far as the committee goes, I have no clue. Some of the things they come up with, who knows?
Yeah.
But I do think OU's in if they win their last two. I mean, if you're a 10-2 Oklahoma team with what they've done in the league this year, 2 huge road wins against Tennessee and Alabama. The Michigan win is looking pretty good from what they did earlier in the season. I think Oklahoma is in. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, where they are as a seed is going to be up for grabs, and will they be able to get a home game, et cetera. But I think if they take care of business, these last 2 games, both at home. But I tell you, the Missouri game, of the 2, the Missouri game is the one that worries me. Missouri, first of all, Ahmad Hardy just went nuts Saturday with 300 rushing yards. I think he's going to be the best back OU faces all year. So as good as OU's run defense is, that's going to be their stiffest test. And Missouri's got a long history of playing Oklahoma, of course, played in the Big 8 and the Big 12. They have not won in Norman since 1966.
Wow.
So, and of course they won last year in Columbia over Oklahoma. So there's going to be some major motivation for Missouri to play spoiler. And after the back-to-back, now there's a bye week, but back-to-back wins at Tennessee and Alabama, if there's a letdown fear for Oklahoma, it's Saturday at home against Missouri, and it's one of those 11 a.m. kickoffs, which you always got to be wary of.
Oh yeah, and we saw the way that bit Texas A&M in the early stages of that football game, had to rear back into it. We'll see if the Oklahoma can put it together, and I'm right there with you. I think if they win out, they are in a couple of tricky football games there. We'll switch over to basketball here for a second, because I'll tell you what, you probably have the best basketball team right now in the entire world in the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, led by some guys that played once here in the SEC. It just says on our slug, and I think Patrick put it perfectly, that they're inevitable. It just seems like it's Thanos from the Avengers. What do you make of the Oklahoma City Thunder still being able to do this without J-Dub, without their second best player, and almost seemingly no hangover after winning the championship?
Not only without J-Dub, but they've been without usually 2 or 3 or 4 guys every game so far. And that's not including Topic, who's going to be out for a while. Kenrich Williams hasn't played yet this year. Dort missed 5 games, just came back the other night for the first time, and it seemed, and Caruso's missed some time. It doesn't seem like it phases them at all. I mean, they were the second youngest team, as we know, to go to the finals and win it all last year behind the 77 Blazers, but they seem like they're this veteran team. They're just, it's just incredible. I'm really impressed so far with what they've done. Only 1 loss on the season. They're at New Orleans tonight. A team they beat 11 times in a row, so I would expect them to take care of business there. But what I was concerned about going into the year was injuries. Can they stay healthy? So far, they really haven't stayed healthy, but it hasn't bothered them at all. And we talked about OU's defensive depth. The Thunder are deep. I mean, they don't lose a beat. And A.J. Mitchell has really stepped up, a guy who had injury issues last year. He's playing like a veteran as well, and that's been a huge boost for the Thunder off the bench.
Brian, do you think that the MVP's wraps already 14 games into the season? I mean, I just don't see anyone catching SGA and what he does for this Thunder team, even while I know we were talking about the depth, even while the Thunder are basically dealing with injuries every night.
I would say yes, but it seems like the people that vote in that don't want to give away back-to-back MVPs.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I know it's happened, but it's almost like they immediately say, okay, you got yours, SGA. We're going to look at these other guys and see. Now, if no one tops you, then we will give it, But we got a long way to go. I mean, this is like a Heisman watch after week 1.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
But you're right. He's so consistent. And even when he doesn't score 30, he's still scoring 20, and he's doing everything else. I don't know what his 20-point game's up to. It's in the mid-80s, I think. Now, the only guy ahead of him is Wilt for consecutive 20-point games. So That pretty much said, anytime you're in any category with Wilt, it's impressive.
Yeah, most certainly so. And it feels like this is a team to me at the beginning of the season or the beginning of last season is when I first started noticing small things like the post-game press conference or the post-game interview, and it's the whole team there, and sometimes that might feel a little high school sophomoric, but it feels like it's genuine with this team, and then that same energy bleeds to the court where they play really well. What do you make of from just a chemistry standpoint? I know sometimes it's hard to define because it's something that you feel more so than you can just like logically speak about, but how much of that, just that loving one another, so to speak, bleeds into the court and their success there?
I think it does a lot, and it's not just lip service either. I mean, Sam Presti has put this team together, not just, oh, this guy's good, let's sign him or draft him or whatever. Right. He's got a master plan here. Now, there were times between the KD Westbrook era and this one where I thought, I don't know if Sam even knows what he's doing, and he probably didn't, because you had to. But the key obviously was SGA. I don't even know if they knew SGA was going to become this good, but there's a family type atmosphere around this team. They seem to genuinely like each other, which I think is a huge thing in the sport of basketball more than any other sport. If you got guys who don't like each other, you got problems. And this team is not like that at all. And SGA, as much as he scores, it's not like he's a selfish player.
Right.
It's a very unselfish team. They play very well together as a team. They're very good defensively as a team, which is a hard thing to accomplish in the NBA with such a long season and long games. But they genuinely like each other. They play well together, and it shows in the results.
Absolutely. This is a really fun time of year with the Sooners playing well, Oklahoma City playing well as well. The Oklahoma men's basketball team, women's basketball team looking to make a nice little run here. So I know you and Holden are very, very busy, and we appreciate your time here on Southeast Sports Plus.
Thanks, enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Brian Brinkley joining us from Oklahoma City. If you're in Oklahoma right now, from last year, you have the Women's College World Series, and you had the Oklahoma City winning, bleeding into Oklahoma football. I just feel like if you're living in a corner of America right now that is like dead on for sports, it's got to be Oklahoma.
I mean, they've got to be the capital of the sports world right
Correct.
now. I know Tampa, you could have made the argument a few years ago with the Lightning winning back-to-back cups,
and
the Bucks winning, and then the Rays making it to the World Series. I mean, it's a great time. I thought it was kind of funny what he said about Sam Presti. He didn't even know what he was doing half the time because you know I was checking in on the Thunder, and I was like, all right, how are you going to navigate post Durant, and then how are you going to navigate post Westbrook? I seriously don't think they realized what they were getting out of SGA.
No.
And this is just shocking everybody.
Yes, and I think like there's a sense of, you know, obviously this wasn't his first team, and you don't see that from a lot of modern-day superstars. Modern-day superstars, you stay with that team until you're, you know, at the end of your rope, and then teams trade you.
Right.
He seemed to, like, you know, be solid as a starter early on, and then just take it to a completely different gear that second year, or the second year there in OKC. And he's continuing to raise the bar. And that's part to me. You don't see that trajectory. You don't see that art in the NBA. And I think that's what's been really impressive about this team.
That Paul George trade looks better and better by the year.
Every single time. Exactly right. Coming up next on Southeast Sports Plus, we close up shop here on a Monday. Stay with us. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, recapping a great weekend of football, great weekend of basketball, really a great weekend. I had a really decent weekend in certain avenues.
Yeah.
But we can't talk about the good, Patrick, without talking about the bad. You know, part of the yin in life, there's a yang, there's fire and there's water. You know, there's
you just have to have something that just balances you
helps
out.
you balance out. Helps balance out. You got peanut butter and jelly, and every now and again you get a seesaw of the good and the bad. And I'll just make the floor yours, because we were talking about just a moment ago with Brian Brinkley that Holden Cruz mark right here on this program.
Mm-hmm.
He gave a couple great nuggets for betting. If you're a bettor out there, if you like to partake in the entertainment of sports of the sports action, he gave a couple of nice little prop bets that you could hit on.
He did.
But for you, it was a close but no cigar.
So, you want to talk about the balancing act?
Yeah.
I had a great weekend. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's right.
I drove up. We finished fifth quarter extra,
Yep.
our high school football show, our extra high school football show that we do after our newscast.
Right.
And my fiance drove the first 5-6 hours. We stopped at Clemson.
Yeah.
And it was like 6 in the morning. I had already slept. I woke up. I had planned it out perfectly. I had my podcast that I had to listen to.
Yeah.
And then College Game Day came on. So I was like, oh, man, I'm getting through this drive great. Went up to Raleigh. What a great time. Raleigh, honestly, one of the more underrated cities, I would say, in the
100%.
country, especially for people my age.
Right.
I mean, if you've never been, I would highly recommend going. I mean, it's just a great atmosphere, great crowd. Now the balancing act comes in. I placed a few bets.
Yeah, of course.
And
Makes
let's
the game
just
fun.
say these were some bad beats.
Oh.
And we'll roll right into it. So this is the first one I placed.
Okay.
I had Notre Dame covering 13.
Uh-huh.
Because I said last week, after Narduzzi's comments, I was like, all right, they're just going to get blown out.
Right.
And then Ty Simpson. Yeah. He's going to have the passing attempts because Holden Cruz Mark said, throw the football against OU.
That's right.
And then John Mateer. He had 30 rushing yards at halftime. The 20-yard touchdown run, I was feeling great. I was like, yes, here we go. This is going to hit.
You need 40.
I need 40. And then the intentional grounding lost him like 18 yards.
Oh, my
And I was
goodness.
like, man,
Oh,
that hurts. And I was like, you know what? Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's $5. Okay, I'll throw. I'll add another $5 down.
And that was 5 to win.
5 to win 300.
Okay, 5 to win 300.
I was like, okay.
Is it
And then I'm like, all right, I'll try to place something on the later games. So I go SGA over on assists, that hit.
Okay.
Chet over on points on 15, that hit. Lawson Lucky anytime touchdown. I was touched by, I don't know if you got to watch College Game Day, but the package they did on his little brother. I was touched by that.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's scoring a touchdown today.
Absolutely.
I just felt it.
And that pass from Gunner was just was awesome.
It was just sweet.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then the over on Anthony Edwards rebound. I am looking so good right
Yeah,
now.
you are.
Arch plus 225. Austin Reeves, Giannis, double-double. And I took the under on SGA because they were playing the Hornets, and I thought he would sit out the fourth quarter. And I thought they would blow him out. And the second I saw it was a close game, I'm like, oh, no. The under was 30.5. This was to win $1,400, by the way. He scores 33 points. So I missed it by 2.
Jeez.
That's tough. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Third time's the charm, right? I'll throw $5 more down. I gotta win something. I'm gonna throw $5 down on the NFL. Oh, this is gonna be perfect. You know, I'm getting so close. I feel like I'm like right there. I don't want to quit now. I mean these $5, $10, that's literally nothing. I'm gonna throw another $5 down, $15. That's still nothing.
Yeah.
So I go, Bijan Robinson's gonna score a touchdown. And he's going to hit the over on the rushing yards against Carolina because Atlanta's going to come out hot.
Right.
Because the last time they played Carolina, they got shut out.
Yep.
And then I'm like, I think Travis Etienne's going to have a great day too against the Chargers. He's going to come out. He's just going to run all over the Chargers. I think Jacksonville pulls off the upset. And then I saw the Packers were playing New York. I'm like, oh, man, the Packers are going to blow out the Giants. And then the last one, I'm thinking, I need one more. Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
He left the game early, but it got refunded to me. It got voided
yes.
because he left in the first half. I need one more. And I'm like, Rashad White, because Bucky Irving's out again.
Yes.
And my Syracuse guy, Sean Tucker, I love him, but he hasn't really done anything to impress me that much. So I'm picking Rashad White, to score a touchdown against the Bills. What? He doesn't score a touchdown?
How?
What? You mean to tell me that Sean Tucker runs for over 100 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns against the Bills?
Against the Bills. Goodness. Oh, my gosh. And it stinks because I didn't watch the game flow there. It stinks because most of the work was probably done by RB1, obviously. And then they got into the red zone and
Sean Tucker broke free for like a 60-yard touchdown, and like Josh Allen just became superhuman and scored 6 total touchdowns.
Yeah, 6 touchdowns.
Him and Otto Graham are the only ones to ever throw for 3 and rush for 3.
Uh-huh.
But I was just like, man, of all the days. Like, Sean Tucker, love you, man. Like, I watched you at Syracuse back when we had season tickets.
Right.
And I'm like, man, yeah, he's going to be something. I'm glad he's getting his chance. But I just needed 1 touchdown from Rachaad White. All in all, with all of those 3 parlays that I each missed by 1 leg, had those legs hit, I'd be sitting here fat and sassy.
Yeah, fat and sassy, exactly.
I think I would have won $1,700.
I was literally about to say you would have turned $15 into $1,700.
And I would have had a great weekend.
I was about to say an unbelievable weekend. You would have paid for the entire trip and more. 18 yards on the intentional grounding.
Yes.
4 points. 4 extra points from
two extra points.
Yeah, because you
had 33. Right? I had 31 and a half.
31 and a half. So yeah, 2 extra points, and then Sean Tucker out there just stealing the joy from Rachaad White, and that hurts.
That's what makes you never want to bet again. Fortunately for us, we cannot bet in Alabama.
It's
only
true.
On props.
It's true. You can bet some props, and I mean there's some offshore stuff, but no, it's always best. It's always best when you're doing it through that route. That is us. That is it for us here on a Monday. We will see you tomorrow here on Southeast Sports Plus.